Hi, everybody, and welcome to our new podcast. We are doing a podcast called Breaking Bread with Alie and Gabby, and I'm one of your hosts, Gabby, and this is.
Allie, what's up, guys?
And we're super excited to bring this to you guys because what we want to do with this podcast is bring spirituality to the mass public, whether you're into religion, you're super not into religion, you're just a spiritual person, or you're not even sure if God exists. This is supposed to be a digestible way to learn more about spirituality and maybe connect more, right, Allie?
Yes, ma'am. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, and we're going to add in little sprinkles of Torah here and there because both of us are Jewish girls. And I didn't grow up religious. Allie, you didn't grow up religious, right?
No, so our whole point, exactly like what you said, Gabby, is to make Judaism digestible. We're going to bring in personal development. Sometimes we'll talk about astrology. We'll talk about what's contemporary in the news, love, relationships, life. So it's all breaking bread. And if you guys have suggestions, just let us know, and we're happy to talk about it.
Right, and feel free to actually eat bread while you're listening, challah in particular, or grab a glass of wine if you're over 21. Or coffee. There we go.
I
So,
love it.
Allie, tell me a little bit about you and your background and why this podcast is something you're passionate about, for our audience, because a lot of people out there aren't familiar with us. So let's give them a little background history.
I love it. So, okay, background history. So, my name is Alexandra, aka Ali Valerio. I am a certified personal trainer and health coach. I love psychology. That's what I studied back in college. And I just love learning why people do what they do and how they think. Just like Gabby, I wasn't raised religious. I'm Spanish, Italian, and Jewish. So, we were kind of raised with the high holidays. But as I got older, I started connecting more to my Judaism. A lot of my in-person clients are actually Jewish. One of my business partners is very Orthodox, so it kind of integrated me more into the Jewish community. And then Gabby and I met through Rabbi Teller, who's our rabbi. Yeah, Rabbi T. He's the best. Who actually wasn't religious either.
Yeah.
And he brought us together, and I think we were just both talking about how we wanted to inspire people, and we share a lot of common interests in life and love and fitness and health and Torah and personal development. And so we wanted to bring you guys this podcast to basically inspire you to find tools in order to get through life when life is tough, especially right now. We have a pandemic happening, so it's forced us to really buckle down and start creating some powerful, really good content for people so that we could have some hope in the world. So I think that's my inspiration in creating this with you, is that we are helping change the world for positive, and that people are listening to this and feeling inspired and
Definitely. And I
connecting
think,
to Judaism.
yes. And now more than ever is when it's necessary, like you mentioned, because the world is kind of going through a crisis and chaos, to say the least. And people are really, rethinking their faith and trying to find faith in these moments. And I think, I've always wanted to do something like this where I can bring self development and spirituality to many people from many different backgrounds. But I think now is the most important time because we have the time off to do this. And so many people probably need something daily to inspire them, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tell us about you, Gab.
So, my background is that I also grew up Reform and very secular. So, if you don't know what those words mean, it just means that very non-religious, but I did go to Hebrew school from like third to seventh grade. I had a bat mitzvah, celebrated the high holidays, but I really didn't understand what I was even going to Hebrew school for. Like, what was I praying about? What are the holidays and what do they mean? So I just had no connection. But even from a teenager up until now, I'm 32, I have been super into self development. So I've read tons of books on it. Some of my favorite authors are Eckhart Tolle and Gabrielle Bernstein. I'm a big Oprah fan. Holla Oprah, love her. Um, no pun intended, holla. But I just like been very into a lot of people that do a lot of spiritual work and self-development, and I've done a lot of reading and learning myself, even documentaries too. And that's what's inspired me to like be a better person, to be more connected. And so when I went on my second Israel trip this summer through Rabbi Teller, the rabbi that both Alie and I are affiliated with, I got more connected. And it was because I started seeing a connection between my religion of Judaism and a lot of the principles I was learning in these self help books. And so I think a big reason why I want to bring this podcast to everybody, too, in addition to what I said earlier, is that, everyone needs tools to help get you through life, like Alie mentioned. So, why not bring you what we know? We're not perfect. We're not here to say, like, oh, our lives are amazing, but we're here to share what we do know, what we've learned from in our experiences, and how we can be better together. So that's where my passion lies. My background, other than that, is I was a dance major, very into health and fitness, prior to getting into the real world. And I do production and also on camera hosting. So I'm a big communicator, love people. And my favorite class in college was psychology and interpersonal communication. So that was probably what even led me more into wanting to connect with people and everything. So yeah, a lot of the experiences Alie and I have had, whether it's doing Shabbat, going to group events, doing Torah classes, we're learning so much, and it's a shame not to share that and be able to connect it to whether you're Buddhism, whether you follow Buddhism, whether you're Catholic, Christian, whatever. A lot of these concepts are the same across the board. They're just taught in different ways. So
Amen.
yeah, amen. Seriously. And that's a word that Alie loves, so she'll be saying a lot.
Baruch Hashem. Okay, I'm going to teach you guys something right now. So one of our goals is to connect first of all, Gabby, thank you. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Okay.
Still go.
No, that was it. I was done. So wait, teach us.
Okay, so I say Baruch Hashem like all the time now, and it's kind of a joke. Like I even have my non-Jewish friends saying Baruch Hashem or like whatever. So Baruch Hashem means thank God. We even have a mitzvah for blessing wine. Do you know the blessing for wine, Gab?
Yes, I do.
Let's do it since you're drinking wine. Yeah.
So Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
And that's how you bless wine, because they say words have power, right? So as you bless the wine, you're raising the frequency of the wine and the energy, because you're putting that in your body. So it's very important to bless it.
Amen.
Our body is sacred and holy. So yeah.
Absolutely. And then the blessing for water and for tea is Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvaro, I believe.
Amen. I'll drink anyways.
All right, cool. All right, awesome. So where are we going to delve into today?
Okay, so I think our topics today are going to be about energy and changing your story, because nobody is stuck in any one way in this life. You have the opportunity as soon as you come into this world to create and make it your own. Alie and I both believe in free will, which is also a principle in Judaism. And you do have the power to make your choices in life, but ultimately at the same time, God does know what choices you're about to make. So it's about, or your higher power, whatever you believe in. So I think that's the best way to start off is like energy, especially right now with everything that's going on in the world. How can you change the energy around you, and how can you live in a more, higher frequency, higher vibe energy?
Yeah, right? Love it. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think a big part, as someone who works in health and fitness, like the best way to change your state is to move your body. Like that's the best way to just automatically change your state is like if you're in a funk, like get up and go take a walk or call a friend or listen to a podcast or pet your dog or something to get outside of yourself. Because so many times we get wrapped up in like, oh, this is happening to me. It's happening to me. And the best way to get outside of me is to move. So, and I got that too from Tony Robbins, who's, I didn't mention that, but that was a big part of someone who has completely changed my life is I went to his Unleash the Power Within seminar 2 years ago. And after that, I decided to like quit my job, break up with my boyfriend, start my own online coaching company. And one thing that Tony always says is make your move. So make your move, say yes, and just like get going. So that's a big thing that I think is important for energy shifting.
Well, doesn't that also play into Newton's theory?
Let the law of
That
inertia.
it's essentially every action equals an equal and opposite reaction. So by you moving and creating movement for yourself, you are, automatically creating an energy shift by doing that.
Absolutely. And even something like dance. It's funny, Gab, because my favorite class in college was dance, and yours was psychology. Like we kind of major in the opposite things. But yeah, that's something that I think really helped me like create energy and create this different change. Like I would go into class sometimes not happy and I'd leave and I'm just like on cloud nine. So I think the best advice is to do something that you love and to move immediately.
Yeah, I totally agree with you as a dancer myself. Like that's the one time I felt like I could leave everything in the world behind and just be me and live in the moment. When I can't say I was necessarily always living in the moment and appreciating and having gratitude for the now. I was always thinking about the past or what's to happen in the future and worrying and creating anxiety over it. But I'm slowly working through that. I think I've gotten so much better at it. And this whole situation with coronavirus proves it because with everything that's going on and all the unrest and like the social distancing and everything, everybody's kind of freaked out because people are either losing income, they're distanced from their loved ones and relatives, or their businesses are losing money. There's just multiple things going on right now, and how you find stillness in these moments. Well, I think working on being okay with the flow of life and flowing with life is what's going to get you there. And going back to like the whole energy topic, we know that the law of conservation of energy is that energy can't be created nor destroyed. So you are energy. This is scientific. Your whole body is energy. The air around you is energy. So, yes, by changing your mindset, by changing the way you move, just like your intention in life, even if you don't believe it right now, but force yourself to believe something you don't want to believe just to create the positive energy, it might then become natural to you because you are shifting energy. And Alie, we talked about this last night in our Torah class. I remember about how like words can definitely affect the heart and vice versa. And I know that you specifically said something about how words can actually change crystalline structure, right?
Yeah, so there's actually a study by a Japanese scientist. I think his name's Masimoto, but we can look it up. Anyway, he does a study about water and basically says different words to different water molecules and then tests the crystalline molecular structure of how the water changes. So he'll say like, I hate you, and the structure changes into like a real like deformation. And then he'll say like, I love you, and it changes into like a beautiful snowflake. So since we are 75% water, like our body, water really, I mean, water, our words really, really matter. What we say to ourselves, what we say to other people, and like what we're saying about last night in Torah is like, if you start to speak nicely, it
Mm-hmm.
changes your attitude, it changes your vibe, it changes the way that other people interact with you. And so often, we are in this fight or flight response, just like right now, we're out of a lot of supplies that are necessary, like
Yeah.
toilet paper and masks, especially for people who are in like in the hospitals. They need these supplies, but so many people stocked up because they're scared. So it's our natural animalistic instinct to go into fight or flight in life, but we have to train ourselves to not default into fear and to rather choose faith over fear and to act with a more balanced perspective. And you can do that with something as simple as like acting as if, right? So
Right.
saying something nice when you don't want to.
Mm-hmm. And for those that want to learn something from Judaism, the word for faith in Hebrew is emuna, and that's Emuna spelled out. And I was listening to Gedali Fenster,
Yes.
and that we love because he does podcasting about all these different spiritual topics, but from a Jewish perspective. He had spoken recently about ways in which you can, have faith in these times and just move through life right now with everything going on. And, he was saying that if you had certainty in life, it wouldn't be life. So life is about uncertainty, but that's why we have emuna and faith. One wouldn't work without the other. So you need emuna and you need uncertainty. But if you had certainty, you wouldn't need emuna. It would not be necessary. There'd be nothing
I
to
love
believe in
that.
or nothing to work towards, right?
Yeah,
So
I love that
very
point.
interesting. And then also to clarify, your scientist that you were speaking of, the Japanese author and pseudoscientist, his name is Masaru Emoto.
Emoto. There we
Yeah,
go.
that's who it is.
Yeah.
And also to your point and what we're talking about right now, there was an article shared also in our Torah class about an experiment done by IKEA. And IKEA actually did this bullying social experiment where they had two plants side by side, treated the same situation, same circumstance, same environment, except for the fact that the kids walking in and out of this room would have to say nice things to one plant and compliment it, and then nasty bullying things to the other plant. And over a period of time, the plant that was bullied actually was whittling away. And then the plant that was complimented was looking better than ever. You can Google this, it's super interesting. And yeah, I think that it's funny how words can change the dynamics around you.
Words absolutely matter. And I think someone that we both love and follow is Gabrielle Bernstein. And, she studied A Course in Miracles with Wayne Dyer and Marianne Williamson. And everything is the law of attraction. Like, the law of attraction is whatever you focus on grows, and like whatever you say happens, because you're putting back to energy. You're putting energy out into the world. So if you're like, I hate this sucks, well, that's your experience, and that's what's going to happen. If you're like, even during this whole corona thing, like, I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I'm home alone. Gabby and I get to create our podcast. I'm creating content for my online clients. I'm reshifting my focus. And because I'm in that positive mindset of like, how can I make the most out of this? Like Napoleon Hill calls this your positive mental attitude, which is one of the number one rules to success, is you have to have a positive mental attitude. I'm loving this whole, I'm not loving the virus, but I'm loving the fact that we get to slow down and we get to rethink, and we have to be creative and like really take a look at how have we been living, because I feel like we've been like hamster wheels, just going, and now we have to step back and actually like think about our lives and what we're doing.
Right. And if there's something that you're unhappy with, say, while you sit in these moments of like silence and self isolation with yourself, and you're not happy with your life and what you've been doing on a day to day basis, you can always change that. The beauty of life is to be able to create a new story every single day. So if you feel like you're stuck, well, great. Tomorrow's a new day. You don't have to be stuck anymore. You can make a new decision tomorrow. And the same
Not
with
even
anything.
tomorrow, it's now.
Yeah, now, exactly. Now is the time, right? You don't need to put it off any longer. I know I'm a big procrastinator, so I'm learning to get through that myself. So if you're a procrastinator, you might as well start at this very second while you're listening to this podcast, make some changes. We
Let's
should
do
do
it.
some homework, like you mentioned. Maybe right now, get a notebook or a piece of paper out and write down 5 things you're happy for and grateful for, and then 5 things you want to change. And from those 5 things, list your top two, the must change list, and, you know, kind of meditate on that and see a way in which you can rectify it, make it better, change your story in the now. I love that.
I love it. So 5 things you're grateful for, and then 5 things you want to change, and then circling the top two that you want to change.
Yes.
Love it. Because everything is awareness, right? If we don't write things down, we have no awareness about what needs to change, and we're just sweeping it under the rug. Just like right now with like this whole virus thing, is like we're like, oh, whatever, we're just gonna go about the way we've been living, and now we're like, well, now we actually have to think about how we live, and if we're touching other people and how we're cleaning our surfaces. Like, mindfulness is the first step in creating greatness, I think. Otherwise, you're just moving through life like a freaking sail in the wind, just whatever blows, there you go.
Actively.
Yeah, we have to take an active response to life. Otherwise, it's just going to pass us by. So I love that as homework, Gabby. 5 things you're grateful for and 5 things you want to change. Circle the top 2. I love it.
Right. And then, another thing to add here is that you can live in the flow. Although I know a lot of people, when they hear someone say, like, live in the flow, let, trust in life, have emuna and faith, and know that God's got your back, or a higher power has got your back. And you're like, but if I do just let go of everything and I'm passive, then I'm not going to have anything come to me. Well, true in some sense. You still need to be proactive and not like sitting on your couch when you want a new job.
Right.
But but there's also a part of it is trusting in the process and trusting that even though you have free will and choice, that a lot of times the choices you make are already known. Because what is time, right? We don't know if we know what time is to the human experience, but what is time to the non-human experience, right? Like the past, present, future could all be happening at once. We don't really have.
It's all relative.
Yeah, it's all exactly. It's all relative. So, with that being said, like I think, well, I want to ask you actually, Alie, and anybody else that's listening at home to think about this. Was there ever a point in your life where you felt like you needed to give up control? And then did you? And did you see a benefit in doing so?
That's such a great question. I want to, before I answer that, I want to say that that's exactly what Gedalia has been talking about on like all of the breast love things that have been coming out. So just a little more on Gedalia, you guys. Gedalia Fencer is incredible. He's kind of like the Jewish Tony Robbins. He's like a Colombian Jew. He's super saucy. He runs a rehab center in Miami, and he's a breast love guy, which is part of like the Hasidic movement. So sorry to go on a tangent for a second, I think this is important. Before Torah was like digestible to human beings, it used to just be like a text that rabbis read and like only specific people could read. There was no like true relationship between reading Torah and like how it pertains to your life. You just read it or didn't read it. You were told what it was. There was oral Torah and written Torah, but only rabbis and like high people could read written Torah. Until the Hasidic movement, I believe it's Rabbi Nachman, because that's who Gedalia refers to all the time, but he like led the Hasidic movement, which is all about understanding what Torah means, not just written in a book, but in your life. Mm-hmm. And kind of bringing like a humanistic approach to it. It was kind of like the Renaissance of Torah. So in that, it's also understanding, and that's how it leads into your question, there's a level where you understand Torah, you understand this book, and you understand these stories, and you understand that Hashem is basically the person in charge, or the being in charge. So at some point, you have to do what you need to do and like plant the seeds that you need to plant in order to get to your goal, whatever that is. But there's also a point where everything is happening for you, not to you. So you have to accept that along the way, maybe your plans are going to fall through. Maybe your best friend is going to get in a huge fight with you and you're no longer going to be friends again, even though you're going to start like a freaking business together. But everything is part of God's plan. So I think exactly like what you're saying, Gabby, like a lot of time, like, and I'll bring my story into this, is that I used to be a personal training director for LA Fitness Beverly Hills. I was actually going to get promoted to become a VP. I would have been one of like 4 female VPs in the nation. Mm-hmm. Now, on paper, that was great. And I had a boyfriend and we had dogs. Like, it looked like I was crushing it at life. But I wasn't really happy. And I felt like I was pushing to get to the next level in my career. But I was like, I was not happy, so I had to kind of just like relinquish control. And that's when I decided to go to Tony Robbins and kind of follow that path. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to quit my job. And then all of a sudden, I meet one of my clients at a Shabbat dinner who introduces me now to my business partner, who brought me into this whole Jewish community where now I'm super connected to Judaism, and like let me learn this, let me learn this. But I had to let go of that idea of like, I'm going to be in corporate America and get this corporate thing and be with this person. And by letting go of that, I allowed space. And I think that's the biggest thing, is allowing space. And by allowing that to happen, all of these things started flowing into my life. So yeah, that's kind
of divine intervention.
Yeah, totally. And also putting in the work in what you want, but also trusting that God has a bigger plan for you. What about you?
So it's funny, like I've always played with the idea of like, what is my bigger plan? I kind of know. I feel like at times I connect to a purpose, like communicating with people. It's my biggest one. But it's like, in which way do I do this and how do I do this? And you have all these questions because you're still on the journey to getting there, right? So when I was on my Israel trip this summer, I had a very profound experience. I was in Jerusalem, one of the, if not the holiest cities on the planet. And we're near the Kotel taking classes. And I just had this crazy experience where we did one-on-ones with a more religious woman. So this woman was Orthodox. And we had met prior, which was funny, like a day or two before. And she just so happened to be one of the women that was paired up with us, on these one-on-ones. So that was like divine intervention for sure. And that's a whole nother story that's pretty crazy that I could get to at another point. But we sat down and did our one-on-ones. She asked me, do you have any questions? Ask me anything. It could be about God, life, relationships, whatever it may be. So I said, well, how do you know that everything in life is connected and that God will show you how it's connected when you're going through something, whether it's, a hardship or a struggle? When are you able to believe and understand that it was all happening for a reason and there was a connection to it? And so that was one of my biggest questions. And she pretty much started off by showing me, different Hebrew words and like numbers associated with it, because every Hebrew letter has a number associated, right? So there's significance behind that. You can look it up. It's very interesting stuff. And then also just talking to me about different fruits and vegetables and things in the world. And she was just like, well, what do you think God is? And I said, I don't know. I think God's everything. God's energy, playing into our topic today. I think God isn't everything. He's just energy. And energy is everything. And she's like, exactly. That's exactly where I'm going with this. So she showed me like an apple, and she said, if you cut an apple in half, it's the same no matter where you find this apple in the world. It will always be the same. There's the same amount of seeds in there. And if you look at an avocado, what does it look like to you? And what are the functions of an avocado? How does an avocado, ripen? And it's very similar to a mother carrying a baby in a womb, because an avocado takes 9 months to ripen, and it has a hard core, circular core, that is protected by the outer shell, right? And the actual like part that you eat. And that's the same thing. Like a mom carries a baby in the womb, which is exactly how an avocado looks, for 9 months.
I love this.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful because it shows how life is so connected, and every living organism in life is connected to us, to it all. So it shows like proof of God and energy in everything. And she even asked me, I'll give you one last thing about that part, was, what about a walnut? What does it remind you of? And I said a brain, and it's brain food. Doesn't that boggle your mind that it resembles a brain and it's brain food? So that was like the first part of our exercise. And also like letters and numbers in Hashem, like how you spell his name, which is God. That was really beautiful as well.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. And so then we did an exercise that was all about self-love. She had me meditate and see my younger self coming to me, and my younger self asking me, or not asking me, sorry, I asked my younger self, what do you need from me? How can I help you? What do you need? And my inner child, pretty much. And so I had a conversation with my inner child, and it was beautiful. And I started hysterical crying. Like, it was so nuts. And I just realized in that moment, oh my God, like I'm supposed to be here. Like this woman was God sent to me to like deliver me a beautiful message, because I felt like I had to hear what I had to hear that day and in that one-on-one. And she had said at the end of all this, at the end of our one-on-ones, which was only about an hour long, it went really fast. It felt like it was 30 seconds. She said, see, Gabrielle, if it wasn't for, and I probably should have told you at the beginning of the story, the bee sting, just how I met her. If it wasn't for the bee sting, we would have never met, and we would have never had to have this experience. And it clicked. A light bulb went off. She answered my question. Hashem showed me how everything was connected. And essentially, the reason why I met this woman prior to these one-on-ones was I was stung by a bee at the Jordan River in Israel. I had a super swollen wrist and arm. I was at Shabbat. We were out for hours in Jerusalem. So I hadn't been home. I hadn't been able to take medicine. And this woman came up to me at an after Shabbat house. And she was like, how can I help you? And I told her what happened, and she found me a leave and gave me medicine, and she told me to pray to God and say how grateful I am for the use of my hands and wrists. And she was like, watch how fast he'll heal you when you're grateful, when you pray about what you're grateful for, not asking for what you need, but what you're grateful for and what you already have. And so I did that, and it was better the next day. And then like 2 days later, I walk into this classroom by the Kotel, which is the Western Wall, and she's in there with about 5 other women. Like, what are the chances out of all of Israel in Jerusalem, this woman I met at someone's house is now my one-on-one person at Aish in Jerusalem and had to deliver me. So she answered it without realizing it. And then we both freaked out because she said that to me. Like, if it wasn't for the bee sting, we would have never met and had this conversation and had this experience. And I was like, whoa, you just answered my question about how is everything connected? I had to go through that pain and suffering when I'm like slightly allergic to a bee sting in order to meet this amazing woman, for her to teach me something so beautiful and show me something so beautiful. So yeah, in Israel, the energy there is unbelievable. So if you're still not understanding what energy is after this whole conversation and you go to Israel, you will feel the energy shift around you. It is unbelievable, especially in Jerusalem.
Amen.
Yeah.
What a cool story. I love that.
Crazy. It was like the most unbelievable experience ever. And if you guys are into like numerology and numbers and stuff, I had renamed myself at the Kotel, the Western Wall, with my Rabbi Teller, Alie. And we did a whole ceremony. And after I was done with that ceremony, because names we say, again, with words and energy, it means something. It kind of dictates your life and is indicative of the life you're about to lead. So if you have a name you don't resonate with, it's not going to be a good thing. So I changed it. I changed my Hebrew name. And Rabbi did this whole ceremony with everyone from our trip. And after it, I looked at my cell phone, and my cell phone shows local time in Israel and then time in LA, my home. And it showed 11:11 in Los Angeles. And I was just, what? Did that happen? And it was right after. And honestly, I never see 11:11. It's once in a blue moon. All my friends see it, like you, and everyone will send me screenshots. It's 11:11, make a wish. But like, this was a time that I actually looked and saw it, and I rarely ever do because I feel like my life is so busy that I'm just like probably ignoring the signs around me, and I'm not in tune with it always. But this was so clear in front of my face, and all I have to say is that Israel is a powerful place, and if you're still unsure about how everything connects in your life and living in the flow and how that's going to lead you to where you're supposed to be, well, maybe take a retreat trip to Israel and you might discover yourself there.
Amen. And if you're Jewish, there's so many different sponsored trips, especially if you live in LA. I went with Aish last year, and I'd already been to Israel twice, one with Birthright, one with my family, and Aish was like a religious trip, and it was amazing. And especially like Spot. Like, Spot was my favorite place because it's so connected. And I don't know about you this weekend, Gabby, but I'm going to do Shabbat. Like, I'm fully disconnecting for 24 hours. I think we can do it.
So there's been this photo running around social media that I'm gonna mention. So I think it's important to share, and it has to do with Shabbat. So this is a very interesting quote. Also, the Pope this week apparently at the Vatican, right, had said for everyone to keep Shabbat this week. He actually requested it. So cool. This image is floating around like wildfire. This Shabbat, March 21st, 2020, will be the first time in the 71-year history of the state of Israel, which will not have transportation, Theaters, sports, restaurants, beaches, and malls open on the holy Shabbat. Everything is shut. What's the first topic of this week's Parsha, which is Torah portion? It means it's a section of the Torah we talk about this week. Moshe assembles all of Israel and talks to them about keeping Shabbat. Synchronicity, you guys. Unbelievable. So essentially in Torah, this week in particular, Moshe, which is Moses, is telling the people of Israel to actually keep Shabbat this week.
It's a commandment. It's a
Typically this week, it's a commandment. So it's so unbelievable that we're all going through coronavirus, isolating, and there is a situation where a lot of places are shut down, transportation, like, I just mentioned. And so it's kind of enforcing Shabbat. It's, it's making you want to keep Shabbat because Shabbat is happening around you, regardless.
I love it. I think we should probably wrap up soon so we can stay within our 45-minute. But I was just thinking of, maybe people don't know what Shabbat is. So what does Shabbat mean to you, Gabby?
So Shabbat is very interesting to me because I never kept it in my life, but this year I've been doing it more than I ever have. And I find it to be a beautiful way in which to connect with people and family. I think it's beautiful that in Judaism, someone who's keeping Shabbat, it's a mitzvot to invite people into your home who have nowhere to go or have no food to eat. And that's, regardless. And a mitzvot means it's a blessing. It's like a one-way ticket, like a little check on your list of, like a good list, right? Like you did this, amazing, blessing for you. So I think it's amazing that it allows people to be open, to invite people that need somewhere to go, need food on their table. It's an opportunity to connect where you're disconnected from technology, especially in today's day in 2020, where social media can literally take over your life and make you super unproductive and disconnected at the same time. And I've seen a lot of these religious families and Orthodox families raising amazing, beautiful, and spiritual kids because of it. Because this is the one time of the week you actually get to know your family. Nobody's at work. They're dropping work and obligations to be with their family, spend time, and connect. And those are moments that you will never, ever get back. And it's so beautiful that, these people have these memories, and the way these kids are being raised today, it's amazing because, they're becoming really grounded human beings and people that are ultimately spiritual and have a really good base. So I love it. I think it's an amazing thing to incorporate into your life.
Amen.
What about you?
Okay. So I didn't grow up doing Shabbat either. I mean, we did family dinners, but it wasn't organized on Friday nights. So my concept of Shabbat is that for 24 hours from Friday night when the sun goes down, you light candles, you light Shabbat candles, especially women. We light these beautiful 2 little Shabbat candles, and then you say a blessing, and you kind of bring the light close to your eyes, and then you cover your eyes, and you can pray for everyone. You can pray for the world, you can pray for yourself, you can pray for your family. And it basically, like what you said, is it takes you away from all of the external stuff that's happening, and it helps you tune in to your soul. And so many times we are so external, everything is give me this, give me this, give me this, that I love the fact that during Shabbat, if you truly keep Shabbat, meaning that you turn off electronics, you don't drive, you don't cook, you don't make anything, the whole idea behind Shabbat is that you're acting like Hashem, acting like God. So in order to become closer to God, you practice all of the mitzvahs, like what Gabby was saying, of what would God do. So this is the day of rest, on Sunday when, Catholic and Christian people go to church, this is our day of rest. This is the 7th day of the week where God rested. So we're supposed to rest. We're supposed to disconnect from the external world. And the whole point is to reconnect to our souls, reconnect to God, and also reconnect to the people that we love. And last week when the whole corona outbreak was happening, Gabrielle and I actually got invited to a Shabbat dinner, and we decided to go because we're not from Los Angeles, so we don't really have family here. So we're like, okay, let's go. And it was so beautiful that this family opened their home to 13 people that they didn't know. They fed us a beautiful dinner. We washed our hands, we prayed, we drank wine, we laughed, we stayed there till like midnight. And I feel like the biggest part about Shabbat that I think of is connection. Like it really, truly helps me feel connected to myself, connected to other people, and connected to God and to Judaism. So if I could pick one mitzvah that I would always want to do, it's definitely keeping Shabbat. I mean, I still drive because I don't live in the Pico Robertson area. Neither do you, Gabby. But I don't use my phone. I don't go on social media. Like I definitely disconnect. And I've seen a huge shift in my energy and also in just like tranquility because I'm so used to being like that it's nice to just have that the
I was
chillness.
actually going to ask you about that. In what ways do you think it's actually helped your life by keeping Shabbat and shutting off the phone and disconnecting?
Yeah, I
You
think
specifically, since you're doing it now.
yeah, I mean, besides driving, I'm pretty much keeping Shabbat. Um, and I think that it's just I look forward to it. Like I can't wait for Shabbat to come in. I can't wait to disconnect and like see my Jewish friends and like eat a great meal and like maybe read a book and go for a walk on Saturday and go to shul. Like it's become a part of my lifestyle. When in the past I was like, I can't wait to go out and party and get drunk and go dancing. Um, I mean, I still love to dance, but it's just like my priorities have shifted and the people I'm around are just such a higher level of consciousness. And I feel like it's elevated my life to be around people who are so woke and like want to do better for themselves and for their lives.
Has it helped you even, in today's age with social media, I feel like become so ingrained in it that it's distracting from everything else going on in life. So do you feel like it's helped you calm down or like be able to do things that you would not normally be able to do? Like what kind of benefits has it had on your life other than you being able to connect with people on your level of consciousness and everything?
I think also just the level of anxiety that you don't realize that you have when you're so connected to technology all the time. And
Right.
even like consumerism, like you're not supposed to spend money on Shabbat. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to go to the store. But then I'm like, oh, I can use what I have. Or I don't need to spend money. I can find other ways to have fun. I can read a book. Like I can go for a walk with my dogs. So I think that there's something to be said that some of the most successful people in the world are Jewish, even though we're 4% of the world's population. And I just feel like just like
Isn't it
God,
even under that? I thought it's 0.01%. I think
I
it's
think
0.01%.
is it point zero? No way. Is
Yeah,
it
we
point
talked
zero
about it
five
actually
percent?
recently.
Okay, we'll do a fact check on that one.
It's
Fake
even
news.
like a
I'm
very
just kidding.
small percentage of the world.
So, but there's something to be said that if God created the earth for 6 days and rested on the seventh day, if we want to be as productive as possible, I think it's also improved my productivity because by the time I get to Saturday night or Sunday morning, I'm like, let's freaking go. Versus if I was like partying all weekend and I wake up on Sunday at like 1 o'clock and I'm like, oh God, I can barely get my life together. But drinking is a mitzvah too in Judaism. So anyway,
Especially on
but
Purim.
yeah, especially on Purim, exactly, in the midst of the crisis. But anyway, yeah, no, I think it's improved my productivity. It's made me more present and also quelled a lot of my anxiety. So,
It's a
I've,
beautiful thing.
yeah, for real. It's like natural medicine, guys.
And
But
we are all naturally being forced to incorporate parts of Shabbat into our daily routines now that we're in quarantine, as we are being more disconnected from daily life, whether
yeah,
it's having a car to go anywhere. You cannot go to the bar and clubs. I mean, you might still be watching Netflix at home, I'm not sure, but either way, you could have picked up a book this week. You could have walked in nature instead of drove. And there's so many benefits to doing that. and really connecting back to yourself and your soul. So thanks, Alie, for being so candid about everything and how it's shaped you over the last year. I think it's really beautiful. So again, like just to sum it up, you guys, energy is shiftable. You can you can't create or destroy it, but it's there and you can do with it as you please. If you want to take it up a notch, you can do that. So mold it in whatever way you wish to do, but to lead a better life. And don't feel like you're stuck in anyone's story, because if you're having hard times today, that doesn't need to be your story tomorrow. And I think that's something we all need to remember. And if you want to incorporate small things throughout the day, one thing at a time, you don't need to do everything at once to just make your life better and enhance it. Do that, because it's small pieces. We're not asking you to do a million things to change your life to be a better person, to have a better life, but these small steps here and there will create bigger changes down the road.
Absolutely.
So, thanks again, you guys, for tuning in. Alie, I hope you had fun. I had a blast. This is our
so
first
much fun. I'm so excited. Thank you for breaking bread with us, you guys. I'm like getting hot. I'm actually gonna go for a walk after this. No, yeah,
I'm excited. You hear it.
What?
I said get outside. Like take a hint from Alie.
Yeah.
Live in nature for a little bit. It's beautiful.
Let's keep Shabbat this weekend. If you guys can do it, let's do it. It's really magical. We can recreate a collective consciousness together, and I think that's our intention. You and I, Gabby, is to like really change consciousness, especially for people who are Jewish but don't really know what it means to be Jewish. Just take one step forward, whether it's keeping Shabbat or eating kosher or having Jewish friends or learning Torah or tuning into our podcast. Like there's so many little things you can do. And one more thing too is I think everyone says this, is that Judaism is a process. And just like life is a process, and you can't go 0 to 100 and expect like tomorrow, but you can go 0 to 0.01 incrementally, and then the next day you'll be like, holy wow, I'm keeping Shabbat, or oh my god, I got that promotion I wanted, or wow, that relationship just manifested suddenly. No, you have to put in the work every single day, just like working out, and you'll get stronger and stronger and better every single day. Just stay connected.
Exactly. So with that being said, guys, definitely reach out to us on social media. I'm at Gabby Loren TV. That's GABBYLOREN TV on Instagram and Twitter. And where can people find you, Alie?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Alie V Health, which is ALIE, V as in Victor, HEALTH, and I'm also on Facebook under Alexandra Valerio and Alie V Health as well. You're also on Facebook, yeah?
Yes, but definitely just follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to DM us. Let us know your thoughts about this episode, and maybe the one thing at the top of your list that you were grateful for, and the one thing that you want to work on at the very top of your list. You can reach out. We can share it on our next podcast. But thanks again for tuning in. This was Breaking Bread with Alie and Gabby. First episode in the books.
Let's do it.
Love you guys. And Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
From your two favorite Jewish girls.